She thought she could steal my husband on my wedding day. I gave her 3 warnings. By the third, the cake was on the floor, and her smug grin was gone. The morning of my wedding to Ethan felt like a dream, stitched together with sunlight and promises. After 5 years of love, laughter, and late-night talks about our future, we were finally here, our venue, a charming vineyard, draped in fairy lights, tables adorned with roses, and a 3-tiered cake that took my breath away. I was 28, a graphic designer who'd spent months sketching every detail of this day. And Ethan, my 30-year-old high school sweetheart turned architect, was the man I'd always known I'd marry. As I slipped into my ivory gown, the mirror reflected a woman ready to start forever. But by the end of the night, forever would be tested by a waitress named Vanessa, who thought she could unravel it all. The ceremony was perfect. Ethan's vows made me cry, his hands steady as he slid the ring onto my finger. Our guest family, friends, and a few co-workers cheered as we kissed under an arch of wildflowers. The reception kicked off with clinking glasses and a playlist we'd curated over months. I was floating, dancing with Ethan, when I first noticed her. Vanessa, one of the catering staff, was striking tall, with sharp cheekbones and a confident smirk. She moved through the crowd with a tray of champagne, her eyes lingering on Ethan a little too long. I brushed it off. Weddings make people bold, I told myself. Maybe she was just admiring the groom. But then it started. Vanessa was everywhere Ethan was. When he stepped away to greet his college friends, she was there, offering him a drink with a smile that felt too personal. When he laughed at a toast, she was nearby, brushing past him, her hand grazing his arm. I watched from across the room, my stomach tightening. She's just doing her job, I whispered to myself, sipping my wine. But the way her eyes locked onto his, the way she tilted her head and laughed at nothing, told a different story. My best friend, Lila, caught my gaze and raised an eyebrow. "That waitress is trouble," she muttered. I nodded but stayed calm. I didn't want to be that bride paranoid, petty, stealing the spotlight for the wrong reasons. By the time dinner was served, Vanessa's behavior was undeniable. She leaned over Ethan's shoulder to refill his glass, her voice low and suggestive as she said, "Anything else you need?" Handsome. My fork froze midair. Ethan, bless him, shifted uncomfortably and mumbled, "I'm good, thanks." I caught his eye, and he gave me a small, reassuring smile. But Vanessa didn't stop. She hovered, finding excuses to circle our table, her comments growing bolder. "You must work out," she said to Ethan, loud enough for me to hear. My cheeks burned. Guests were starting to notice, their whispers cutting through the music. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood, my dress rustling, and walked over to Vanessa as she lingered near the dessert table. "Hi," I said, forcing a smile. "I've noticed you're paying a lot of attention to my husband. It's making people uncomfortable. Please stop." My voice was calm but firm. Warning. 1. Vanessa's eyes widened, then narrowed. "I'm just doing my job," she said, her tone dripping with mock innocence. "Maybe you're seeing things." She turned away, her smirk intact, and I felt a spark of anger flare in my chest. Lila, who'd overheard, grabbed my arm. "She's testing you, Claire. Be careful." I tried to focus on the joy of the night. Ethan and I cut the cake, our hands intertwined, the crowd cheering. But Vanessa was back, this time bringing Ethan a slice of cake, personally, bending low so her neckline dipped in front of him. "Special delivery for the groom." She purred. Ethan's face reddened, and he pushed the plate away, muttering, "Please, just leave it." I saw the discomfort in his eyes, the way he glanced at me, silently pleading for me to stay calm. But my calm was cracking. Guests were staring now, their murmurs louder. My cousin, Mark, leaned over and said, "Is she for real? This is your wedding." I approached Vanessa again, this time near the bar, where she was pouring drinks with that same smug expression. "Second warning," I said, my voice low but sharp. "You're crossing a line. Focus on your job, Not my husband. Her lips curled into a defiant smile. Relax, sweetheart. It's a party. I'm just having fun. She walked away, hips swaying, leaving me trembling with rage. Lila was at my side again, her voice urgent. Claire, she's baiting you. Don't let her ruin this. But the damage was already spreading. The mood of the reception was shifting. Guests were distracted. My joy tainted. The final straw came during the slow dance. Ethan and I were swaying to our song, his arms around me, when Vanessa approached with a tray of shots. For the happy couple, she announced. But her eyes were on Ethan, her voice laced with suggestion. She stepped closer, offering him a shot, her fingers brushing his as she handed it over. Ethan pulled back, but not before I saw red. The music seemed to fade, replaced by a ringing in my ears. I stepped away from Ethan, my heart pounding, and faced her. Last warning. I said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Back off, or you're done here. Vanessa laughed a sharp, mocking sound. You're so uptight, she said. Maybe he needs someone who can loosen up. The room went quiet. Guests froze, their eyes on us. Ethan grabbed my hand, whispering, Claire, let it go. But I couldn't, not anymore. Vanessa had turned my wedding into her stage, and I was done playing nice. I turned to the catering manager, who'd been hovering nearby, clearly aware of the tension. Get her out of here, I said, my voice shaking but steady. She's disrespecting my marriage and ruining our day. The manager hesitated, glancing at Vanessa, who rolled her eyes and said, You're making a scene over nothing. That's when it happened. In a moment of pure impulse, I grabbed the nearest thing, a tray of cupcakes from the dessert table, and flung it toward the ground near Vanessa's feet. The cupcakes hit the floor, frosting splattering across her pristine black shoes. The crowd gasped. Vanessa's smirk vanished, replaced by shock. But she wasn't done. She grabbed a slice of our wedding cake. Our cake, the one I'd spent weeks designing, and hurled it at me. It missed, smashing into the floor, leaving a smear of buttercream and roses. The room erupted in chaos, guests shouting, the manager rushing forward, Ethan pulling me back. The manager grabbed Vanessa's arm, dragging her toward the exit as she yelled, You're crazy, this is my job. But her bravado was crumbling. Guests were filming, their phones out, capturing her downfall. The manager turned to me, apologizing profusely, promising she'd be fired. Vanessa's face was red, her confidence shattered as she was escorted out. I stood there, my dress speckled with frosting, my heart racing. Ethan wrapped his arms around me, whispering, I'm so sorry. Claire, I love you. I nodded, tears stinging my eyes, but I felt a strange relief. She was gone. The reception continued, but the energy was different. Guests rallied around us, offering support, some even laughing about the cake incident. Lila helped me clean my dress, joking that I'd given Vanessa a story she'd never forget. But as I danced with Ethan, the weight of the night settled in. Vanessa's actions weren't just a flirtation, they were a deliberate attempt to humiliate me, to steal a moment that was mine. And yet, her boldness had backfired. She'd lost her job, her reputation, and any shred of respect from those who'd witnessed it. The videos circulating online, I later learned, painted her as the villain of the night, her name tied to a moment of shameless audacity. Looking back, I don't regret throwing those cupcakes. It wasn't elegant, but it was honest. I'd fought for my marriage, for my dignity, on a day that was supposed to be sacred. Ethan and I left the reception hand in hand, our love stronger for it. Vanessa's attempt to derail us had only shown the world and me how unshakable we were. But the question lingers, was I wrong to escalate it? Should I have stayed calm? Let her antics slide, or was standing up to her? Messy as it was, the right call. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done?